or not text, I had emailed Felicia about trying to get them to Aaron involved in a social media post, but I haven't heard back, and I remember you saying that it's in and out. So is there somebody else I should email, or?
Hey, and we're live. Right on time. I think for that, you might try, oh man, he has the darker beard and he's over communications. Aaron, just try Aaron.
Aaron
Knight. Yeah.
Is he with the chamber or the city?
Here.
I thought he was with the chamber. Maybe I haven't stopped.
Yeah, I thought he was with the city as
Maybe I'm still mixed up.
sure,
Oh, I think you're. Oh, are you? Hi.
Sorry. You guys are not the only one, Mike.
No.
What's happening?
Yeah, he's ConwayArkansas.gov.
Why did I change? Okay. Oh, he had glasses. Okay. Oh no, here's yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an Aaron in the chamber?
Probably.
Oh, yes.
Corey.
Yes, there's got to be an Aaron.
But it's pronounced AA wrong.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I will reach out to him. Okay.
Awesome.
Does Red Wing go?
Red means we are live.
Cool.
So there
Please just watch the thumbnails.
right?
Yeah.
There are dozens of people watching us on YouTube right now before we officially started the meeting.
Let's see.
James thing is coming here.
Minutes. Agenda.
Peyton always has an agenda.
Always. You gotta watch out with me. Let's see, 4 out of 7, that's a quorum. So we start this shindig.
We'll make lots of decisions today.
Right, I was gonna say, let's fast track some things.
Pay raises. Pay raises.
Yes.
Board members.
So, things I should have been doing before I started, I'm trying to get into the Wi-Fi. So, because Kim will not be here, we need someone to take notes, and I'm happy to try while running through the agenda. If someone wants to.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yes.
Perfect. Approved.
We talked about this. We've had meetings since we did the public open.
No, we had a meeting right before.
That's right, right before. What was the city manager seemed to go great? I mean,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, no, by any estimation, we had about, I want to say 50 people
Yeah.
as a conservative estimate around.
Only a few of them were nearly run by old man on a bicycle.
Right. There are only a few close calls in that regard.
He was like, man, hey, you walking here?
Some people are very passionate about it.
That's a passionate place. We're gonna have some, I don't want to get ahead of us, but we're supposed to talk about
Some small projects.
projects that we were told were going to be one way and then they turned out not to be that way.
Yes.
But maybe that will be, that'll fit into our whole policies and best practices things down the road. We don't.
Yeah, I think that will be.
I know sure
And
about that now. Yes.
Yeah.
this is sort of the agenda I sent James. It's not too bad. But part of that, yeah, let's talk a little bit about
So
the.
did he adjust the agenda?
Oh no, it's all in there. I had thought I put something about the tunnel, but we've got something about the tunnel to talk about that came up today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Regardless, so. Sorry, for the benefit of you at home, I'm navigating to our minutes section of our shared Google Drive, so I can actually take minutes in a place where we might all be able to get to them. So, perfect.
Is it funny that these signs are different with the tables? They're not tables with wheels.
Yes. Base, you want to rearrange?
But they're tiny tables. I think almost any fully grown human could pick up 2 of them at the same time and just. That's funny, yeah. That's one of those ideas. That's a great idea. Wheels on tables, and then they're like, oh.
Yeah, they never line up.
We're gonna spend an extra $30 a day on this video.
Perfect. Running through old business so we can get to new business and discussion points. Public art master plan. For those of you that weren't on the call yesterday, which I think is everybody in here. We had a first.
I was on the call yesterday.
Yeah, there was a steering committee call for the folks that are working with the group. So it was, I think, me and Kim from the art board, and also because she's on Downtown Partnership, the folks that we've suggested that they reach out to. So Nakia was on there, as well as some other folks from just kind of around that are interested in the arts. And so they are currently going through our list of recommendations, and we thought of brainstorm some more folks for them to reach out to, and they're having the focus group section right now. So that
is that with Amanda?
Yes.
Okay, I talked to her last week on a separate.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And she'll reach out to all of us as board members.
I think it was a week ago.
Yeah. Perfect. So they're doing exactly those meetings with some of the important individuals we called out, and they're forming their invitation list for larger focus groups so they can do like 4 or 5 people at a time. We're thinking like civic groups, different like enthusiast groups around art professors. They might clump some of those together. I know, we don't need any more of those, but we're going to go after them anyway. So all of that to say, we're proceeding, it appears to be on schedule, and they're actually doing the work that they said that they were going to do, which is always reassuring. And so I'm on that, so I hope that, as the months roll by, we can include that update. Puck and Aaron are also on that, and I think Felicia's on there as well. So our city friends who aren't here today, but are normally here, will also have some updates and things that we can touch base with that. Public arts policies and best practices, that is on a permanent hold, but we will touch a little bit on what do we want to do when it's different. Tiny Toads, I was hoping Kim might be here to give us a little bit more insight about where we stand for the Historic Preservation Grant.
Gosh, that's half of it, isn't it?
Yeah. I know that she's reached out and contacted them and let them know that we have a call and shared that with them, so they know that we're progressing through the steps. So I think we're okay there. I know we're on a tight time frame to get in our in submissions and select an artist. Speaking of, where all have we in the room shared out the call for artists? Or have we?
Just on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, I just shared with other people individually.
I actually can tell you something kind of exciting that I found about today. I shared it with our 3D guy. He's a part-time guy, and he'll answer some questions about some other things. He said, "I've got my class working on that." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, we're gonna be working on this." And he said, he was making copies. I'm like, we have to pay for those copies. And he's handing out the call to all the students. So he's like, each one of them is going to get a different toad. And I thought it's great.
Awesome.
That's
fantastic. Obviously I'll have to recuse myself from any stuff, but I just was kind of excited. I thought if that did work out, that would be kind of a cute students, connected with the city in some way. Plus, it's interesting. So I had to inform him that when you do things on college property, you don't get all the money. So.
Right.
So,
good notes.
But anyway, I thought it was a clever class project.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, that'd be awesome. Look forward to seeing their entry.
Yeah.
Cool. I have meant to reach out to the Opportunities Facebook. It's the sort of catch all through the Arkansas Arts Council, and a couple of networks I can send it to beyond there that I'll get out, including the Mid-America Arts Alliance.
That was the big one you were. Yeah.
Apologies for not having that done sooner. Things have been hectic. But I'll admit to dropping the ball on that one because I know we're on time crunch. But I hope to rectify that soon.
It's the end of September, right? Is that the deadline? Or am I?
I want to say so because we wanted to give ourselves enough time to review
Right.
artists and present to the city council meeting on the 15th.
That's right. We had some real tight.
Yeah, because that's where we've got to show that we have the artist, that we have the match, and then get the approval for the 10,000 from the city side.
Will the match? Will they be able to? If it's going to happen, they'll be able to do that quickly. That's
As I understand it,
okay.
it should be.
Cool.
Um,
Hope so.
this being my first time to navigate one of these as chair.
Sure.
Kim seems sure of the process, and she has walked through this before with them. So
Yeah.
yeah. Because as far as I know, they shouldn't have to materialize our half from anywhere. It should exist in accounts and then just be then doled out to that project. So yeah,
Deadline is October 6th.
October 6th. So
That's
yeah,
for
actually-
entries, and then we're going to present to the city on.
It's the 15th.
15th.
But do we have a meeting?
Yeah.
Or no, there will be a committee. There'll be the committee. Is that how we're going to do it?
Let's talk about that now. We'll have another meeting between now and then. Again, that's why I was hoping that we would have Kim here.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, our next meeting would be October 20th. But we can have it a week
That
early.
math doesn't work out.
Yeah.
We can do it the 13th.
So meet on the 13th, and then, but will we vote on that as a board or as the committee, or how do you see that working? Will that, are you saying there's a committee, the review committee? So what will the review committee do exactly?
They will review the artist.
Yeah.
Will they? That's interesting.
Review and then make recommendations to
Right.
the
That's
board.
Yeah.
okay. So they'll do a little bit of sifting first,
Yes.
and maybe
Yeah.
bring 5 proposals or something. Got it. Good. Well,
That way
that
it
should
saves us a little time
be,
at the meeting.
yeah. That should be doable then.
Yeah. And we need volunteers for that. So anybody in this room want to volunteer for the review committee to look at toads?
I'll be happy to do that.
Like
Yeah.
Sure. How many people do you need?
Yeah.
I think the 4 of us would be sufficient. Otherwise, we might as well just involve the whole board.
That's right, okay, we could do that. So you're saying on the 15th, there's a city council meeting that we're presenting to, or what's on the
I
15th?
think that's the deadline to submit stuff for the next council meeting.
Yes.
Okay,
So that we get on the agenda
so we
for-
don't have any meeting on the 15th of any kind.
No, but that's we need to have all of our ducks in a
Gotta be
row
done.
on the
I have a
15th.
meeting on my calendar.
Have to have somebody selected by the 15th.
Yeah.
So we're thinking the 13th. We'll meet on the 13th.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds like a voting matter. So do we?
Okay, so how about we move our art board meeting up to the 13th? Is that
It's
allowed?
supposed to be on the 20th, so.
Yeah.
And then maybe the review committee meets, when?
Yeah. Sometime there will have to
Maybe
be.
that Friday, October 8th. What days are better for you? Fridays,
I mean, I would
Mondays,
rather-
Tuesday?
I'm sorry.
I'm going out of town. Shoot.
I would rather keep the meeting on the 20th, but,
Well, then we wouldn't make that, the 19th.
oh, I'm
is,
sorry, I didn't hear you say
uh,
19th.
Is the actual city council meeting that we want to be on the agenda for.
Can we vote via email or?
Yeah, we've done that before.
Yeah.
We can do that?
Yeah.
Good. I'm out of town 7th to the 10th of October.
Okay.
Yeah. I think since we're a separate
So
committee, we are still
maybe-
empowered to.
That's right. We'll just make the rough. Cool.
So do we want to meet on the 11th or 12th for the review committee?
The 11th is Indigenous Peoples' Day,
Good.
Okay.
the 12th.
Oh, yeah, and Columbus,
What day did you say?
Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
It'll be right after you're back from being out of town, so maybe Tuesday?
I could do Tuesday.
Tuesday.
The
I
12th.
think I'm open on Tuesday. So. What time?
And that's when the whole board will meet.
No, that's when the review committee.
Oh,
will
just
meet.
the-
We will meet
Sort
virtually.
Okay, you know,
Can we meet virtually or meet in person?
That's
I'm
great.
fine either way.
Either way, Susan. Yeah.
Let's meet via Zoom, and then we can maybe screen share and discuss each piece.
Yes, and then we could review them beforehand.
Yeah.
That way, yeah.
I'm gonna get them. They're already digital anyway, so. It's not like some good consensus stack of, yeah.
Could we do 4 or 5 or what? If we're doing virtually, I can do it. I mean,
Hopefully there's enough entries that we can have 4 or 5.
Actually had a discussion. I think she was saying 4 or 5.
4 or 5 people.
Oh.
Either's
Either's fine for me.
I'm good.
what about you? I don't know what your work schedule is.
I can make 5 o'clock on Tuesday work.
Like 5 o'clock on the 12th,
Yes.
and then you will send the link, meeting link. Okay.
Do we still have a list of all the people to send that we made the last meeting to send the RFQ to RFP, RF something? What are those called? Or
Yeah, RFP? Request for
RFP,
proposals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Did we make a list last meeting?
There's something about that, yeah.
So do we need to divide them
Would that-
over?
would
who
that
we
be
need
for the
to send?
toads?
For the toads, to make sure we get it spread around as much as possible. We don't still have that list, do we? I didn't bring my notes from last time.
I don't think it was in Kyle's notes, which is where I was hoping
Yeah.
it would live. Although, if there was a list, there is a recording of the meeting
Yeah.
on YouTube
Okay,
that we can go back and track.
Okay, so maybe we go back and make that list in email form.
Yeah.
And they can if anybody wants to volunteer for sending it to them.
Yes. Because I remember I threw out opportunities. I threw out Mid-America Arts Alliance. And we all talked about Facebook and reaching out and maybe the schools. Beyond that, I can't remember what else was on the list. Our previous
I don't
entries.
Previous
Folks
entries,
who had
yes,
submitted.
good. And we have that list.
I'm supposed to send that to colleges. No, it's just going to be UCA. Or CDC doesn't. This is CDC. That's
CDC.
That's what my brain does. Yeah, I guess I can send it to UCA and Euler. Euler's got a big 3D program. Yeah, I'll make sure we get it. Yeah, no, I should have done.
We are a volunteer board. Not to use that as an excuse, but also man, life happens.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll do that, and we can review the YouTube video, and see if there's anything else that we missed out. I don't think so, though. I think that was everything.
That
I think
sounds
we had
good.
colleges.
It is. I'm not real optimistic about that because who's done 3D stuff?
I mean, only a few.
Yeah, Mockstad, but he's still in the area, I think. What's the other, the little Ross, scary kids? That's so long ago, I don't remember who did that.
That was like that.
Yeah.
Company.
I know, I said it. There was probably an artist that worked for the company. Hopefully.
Back in the 40s.
I was going to say, yeah, made the original cast back in
They're cute. I'm
1932.
still upset. We gotta move those.
Yeah.
We gotta move them. They gotta get a park with
Let's
cute
put that
kids.
down at
I
the
know,
small
I
scale.
know.
Awesome. Do we have a motion to move our next meeting to October 13th?
Yes, I make that motion.
Awesome. All in favor, or anybody second?
Yes.
Okay. All
Or
in
did we
favor.
say to do it in email?
We will meet via email, but we need the board sign off for the final selection of the artist.
So
That
can
way.
we do that vote via email or? That's what I was saying.
Gotcha.
And we've done vote emails before on stuff like this.
Okay.
Not for to spend money, but
So,
for the
wait,
selection.
tell me the scheduling again. We four are gonna meet on Zoom on the 12th.
Yes.
And then we need to do,
We'll make a recommendation, yes.
we'll make a recommendation, but like the board the next day or something.
And do email vote.
Okay.
Give everybody till 15th or?
Something like that. And
Same.
These are the top 5.
Yeah.
And what do we do then? Do we vote again on those?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, so we have our pool of 5 and we say everybody gets to vote.
Yes.
What voting system do you use? Can you
Um,
tell where I work? Is it a Likert scale? Or do
Yes.
it?
The city has a formula
Good,
Oh,
good,
that
good,
we'll
good.
need to modify for our
That sounds perfect. Good. That should be really easy on then.
And I'm going to say the deadline for feedback is the 14th. That way we have the 15th to pull anything together.
Perfect.
Well, because we'll have to write the ordinance. So yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All kinds of fun stuff.
Down to the wire, folks. We'll get it done.
It's a festival.
All right, so we'll send the final vote to the board the next day, or honestly after we meet. Final vote to the board at conclusion of meeting. Okay, walk and chew gum at the same time. Conclusion of meeting with a hard deadline for feedback of the 14th.
Sorry, I need to go ask if they can go more noise.
It's good. It's the sounds of work happening.
That's right. That's some optimism there.
That noise means 30 people have jobs. So the final vote for board. So we need that adjusted voting
Yes.
form from the city.
Yes. We should have it.
James, if you're watching,
Yes, or
we need that adjusted voting form for you.
Jamie Bryce. But yeah.
Jamie or Bryce?
Jamie Bryce. Yeah.
Jamie and Bryce are the same person. Gotcha. Perfect. Okay, that means Tiny Toads. Our major things are to get the call out. I'll do opportunities, Mid-America Arts Alliance. Joanna, if you can look for folks who have previously submitted and get that out to them. Rod, you'll hit the colleges.
Yep.
And then we'll just hit our other networks as we can and as we remember. The deadline for that is October 6th for them to get it in. We will not move our board meeting to October 13th, but we, as the selection committee, will meet virtually at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, October 12th via Zoom. As soon as that's done, we'll send out our results to the board to vote using the adjusted voting form thingy from the city. And they will get their feedback to us and their final votes in by the 14th, or it doesn't count.
I have a weird question about that
Yes.
procedural. So that form for voting is gonna be electronic?
Yes.
I'm assuming
We'll
it
try
can
to make
You
out.
just whatever, and then they'll all go to you. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so it's better than
No,
I
for
know.
sure.
Yeah, we still use paper at college. Terrible.
And then we'll put all the submissions on the Google Drive for people to access. Yeah, good.
I don't want to put all selected submissions. Because we don't need to, or do we, for purposes of the city,
I put them all on there. Yeah.
put them all in there? But say these are the ones we've
Yes,
selected as
we might
the
put
ones
them
who
in
vote.
order or something like that. Or, yeah.
They don't need to vote on the ones that we haven't selected as the committee, though, to be on top.
Yes.
Perfect. Selection votes on top. Okay. Any other thoughts on Tiny Toads and getting us selected and ready for the multitude of deadlines we have for that?
That's cool, it's exciting. It's fun project.
Awesome. Final notes. Rod says fun project.
There you go.
All right. So that is Tiny Toads. Capture Collaboration and Arts Fest. We have the last news we had on that is still the news that's current. It's sent in that list of art to kind of select and do for art scavenger hunt. I do want to follow up with them in the following weeks and just see if there's other things we can do to help refine that out. They, like us, are operating on volunteers, so I think their pace has been our pace of the last month. But if I can help them get that up to speed, I want to do that. And I'll let y'all know if we need any other support or voting type things. If we do anything else, it'll just be maybe helping them select more artwork to include with the scavenger hunt. And possibly having a little bit of time to speak virtually at one of their opening events and just kind of say, hey, we're the art board and we exist. But outside of that, I don't think there'll be much more, even really, opportunity to participate. Case no news. We talked about the master plan up top. Budget discussion. So these two things sort of work in tandem, and I apologize for not sending out the idea of things that we wanted to include for projects, but I think we all remember that, and I have it pulled up here that we can talk about when we get to that portion. But attached to your minutes is, as far as I know, our current and up-to-date budget, including... Oh, yeah, because those spaces are blank. Including the master plan expense that's coming up as they complete their work and we are contractually obligated. So we have our remaining funds of $143,152.47, and then we're going to take a $49,938 chunk out of that. You will also notice the 2021 city portion of annual AMP taxes and 2020 City of Conway portion of annual AMP taxes are blank because both of those, again, as we've discussed and found out at previous meetings, have been allocated to two other projects, namely the MLK Park there on Markham, which is coming along nicely. And the other project that we were going to ask our city folks about, but we haven't had many of them in the last couple of meetings, which is the Veterans Memorial. I don't know much more about that. I think we all came to the conclusion we don't know kind of what that's about. But those are, the best of my recollection, was what were earmarked for those. The big takeaway there being that we're short that $60,000 that we've normally been reserved for.
That we are an advisory committee.
We are an advisory committee on those, and
So that leaves us with about $93,000
yes,
in our bank account.
Yep. Or in the city's portion of the bank account that they then slice little chunks off.
To advise and suggest ways of spending.
And then we will get another $30,000 in 2022.
Yes.
Does that happen like January 1st, 28? What is the, or is it a,
Fiscal
is it a
year.
calendar year or?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Fiscal year, and I can't remember what theirs is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're definitely, whatever that word, I hate to use this word as politics, we're definitely promised that 30,000.
Yeah, it's an ordinance.
There are, yeah. It is an ordinance, and I think that before anything else can be attributed or directed to another project. So as I understand it, and that's still where we're hoping to get some more clarity, and where I'm hoping, we talked in the master art plan, and one of the things I'm hoping to get out of that again is a set of policies and procedures so that we're super transparent about how the decision making happens, where the money comes from and where the money goes, not only for our sake, but for the public's sake and everybody else's, so we're super clear.
That's very good.
As I understand it, those two projects and those allocations were cleared through the city council on behalf of the art boards of the past. I don't know much details beyond
When was that?
that. I'd say, and that's the thing, is I don't know. It would have had to have been early on in the conceptualization of those projects. So I don't know if that's like, we're talking 2015, they're like, hey, in a couple of years.
Huh?
Haven't you been on the board?
Since the beginning.
Yeah.
Well,
And see, that's what I thought.
maybe
It
was
would
like
have to predate you if it were a decision from,
It would
it had to predate the board.
We wouldn't have that funding before
That's true.
2015.
So that's still something that we need to find some clarity on.
Well, whoever was making decisions about art maybe made that decision a while ago.
Yeah.
But clarity, I think, is a really good thing, particularly for the public,
Yeah.
of which we are.
Which we are
We
indeed.
represent, yes.
I didn't think that.
So I guess my question about this is, I definitely don't want to put the bank account to zero,
Right.
but we have money sitting there to utilize. I would like to propose that maybe we come up with an amount that we feel like we could put towards projects in the next year, even though we don't have our 30,000 budget. We've got 90,000 sitting there.
Yeah.
Well, 10 is 10. The only thing that I think we have marked is the 10 for the toads, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. That we're kind of committed to.
Okay, so 80,000.
80,000.
We've got 80,000. I mean, again, I would always like to be comfortable and have 25 in the bank if we can, or something, you know, whatever that number
Right.
we decide. And I think we need to discuss that number, but then furthermore, I mean, there's always, and I'm always kind of a worst case scenario, like start there and then move back, like what if something happens and funds get moved around and need to be used for something, I don't know if that's possible, how that works. Like, we've got the funds to use for public art, let's use them for public art.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
And as far as I know, and as far as I read the ordinance, that 80,000 we have is sacred to this board and projects which we present to the city council. They have ultimate arbitration over, yeah, you can pursue that project, or no, you can't. But they can't take those funds and go. It's committed to
That's good.
funding project proposals that we get approved by city council. That is the dichotomy as I understand it.
That's
No
huge,
quote me on
man.
that, kids. And that's sort of my goal, is to make sure that as long as we're a board and as long as I'm chair especially, that we try to keep that sacred to this, so that we can do that long-term planning. Because yeah, if we had suddenly, we think we've got 40,000 left and we've got a couple of $5,000 or $10,000 projects down the line, we want to be sure that we can keep those, because it's a long-tail process. To that end, so we talked about having certainly sorry, I copied over my notes that were still out on my laptop from last time, which means I haven't shut off my computer for a month. It's probably bad for it. So per our conversation last time, speaking of staying busy and keeping projects going, we did want to have a focus not on temporary but on permanent work, aiming to have at least one permanent art piece per year. We were also going to look into some walkable space for murals in the future, which we could talk about when we talk about small scale projects.
Or big scale projects.
Or big scale projects. We did say if we wanted to do some sort of temporary art thing, so like an art exhibit, something that by necessity, be it live art, be it performance art, that sets up and tears down, it would have a very low budget of $1,000 or less. We did not set a cap for here's how much we'd like to spend for our permanent art pieces. So open to discussion for that now.
Awesome.
I have a proposal.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, you have a proposal.
The floor recognizes
I just have
your proposal.
words.
Thank you.
So I started working on this last spring with Jessica Crum and Jessica Jones. When I started working on it, I brought them in and kind of got them to brainstorm with me a
You
little
have a
bit.
Hazlitt quote in this? I'm so impressed. Oh my lord.
So, and this was before before the board voted to help Jessica Jones with this other project. So I wasn't even thinking about involving the art board at first. And then I thought this is going to be a really good way to pull together a partner, get funding, etc. So the idea is this would be led by the Blackbird Arts Collective in conjunction with the Creative Institute. Is everyone familiar with that? The Creative Institute. Okay, so Jessica Crum, who's the one who's starting the new art walk, is the director of Silver Lake Design. They started the Creative Institute of Central Arkansas this year, which is basically kind of a gap year program for students ages 18 through 24. And they do they work with professionals and have projects and portfolio projects throughout the year in video, photography, graphic design, to kind of give them hands-on experience and hopefully an idea of what they might want to do with their lives. Yes, so this is the first year to do it. They piloted that. So the idea is that the Creative Institute students could actually help with part of this project, which is why they're a partner. So there's a lot of information. We don't have to read through all of this, but the first time that I saw something like this in action was in New York City on the subways, where you look up where the advertisements are on the subway cars, and there would be just snippets of poetry from famous poets. And since then I've researched, and you can kind of see towards the back of it, there's examples of other programs that have done this. Poetry in Motion, it started in New York City. It's, appears in Los Angeles, Nashville, San Francisco, other places. The Public Poetry Project at Penn State is another example. So the concept for us would be, and right now the thought is just call it the Conway Poetry Project. Why make it crazier than it has to be? Make it simple. but that we would initiate a public art poetry installation project throughout the city. The idea is that we would create a steering committee, which would involve people from Blackbird Arts Collective, Creative Institute, the Public Art Board, and I think that I put city. So one art board member, one Creative Institute, one writing faculty, and one artist. So we would get from one of the colleges and get at least one writing faculty to be on the board. So this volunteer selection committee we would basically put out a call to anybody in the city, and there would be no age limits. We would try to get in contact with schools, with colleges, with just random people. We would obviously have, criteria, 50 words or less. We don't want to have, a huge 30-page poem submitted. Obviously, no expletives. Like, we would come up with a proposal process just like we've done with the visual arts, and have a period of time. And I've got a timeline on further later in the thing. So basically, we would put the call out there, people would submit, this volunteer steering committee would go through, we would make the submissions anonymous to this committee, so they would not know the names that were on the pieces. They would select however many we decided we could use within the budget that we had to work with, and would also come up with how we wanted to put these out there. So some ideas on the next page. I've got some different installation formats. We talked about painting or stenciling, stamping into concrete. I know that's one you brought up last time. Vinyl decals on windows, vehicle wraps or magnets on city vehicles, pop-up banners that can be moved for events. This is kind of big picture, maybe even long-term, installing listening stations in high-traffic areas where viewers could press a button to hear the poem in English and or Spanish. Again, that's long-term, high-budget.
We have high-traffic areas in Conway.
Banners for seasonal poetry that can be hung in parks and shifted to the season. Like, these are just kind of some ideas, right? Potential locations, you can see parks, schools, trash trucks, fire stations, walking trails, just different thoughts there. So if you look on the next page, proposed timeline, and this can obviously be adjusted. In October, we would create the steering committee. They would gather a proposal, create the proposal and gather the selection committee. November, we could present those proposed project details to this board for approval. That you guys agreed with, the criteria that we were going to put out there, all the details, just like we've done with every other proposal process, same idea. December, we would work on creating the marketing materials for the program, create a website submission portal, and the committee would establish a list of locations. January, we would publicize and accept submissions. February and March, the selection committee would filter through the submissions and then bring that through this board and then whatever city approval we needed. And then ideally in April, the Creative Institute would help us facilitate the design portion of the installation process. This would be one of their projects that they would actually work on as part of the Institute. And we would start with Tier 1 installation and may do the next. And obviously the committee and the board could kind of help figure out what is Tier 1 and what is Tier 2, what makes sense to start with first and second. So the idea is that this would actually happen every year. Not saying that if we voted on the board to fund this year that we would expect the board to fund every year. I'm not saying we would have to, but for this first year, we would ask for the board to.
Big splash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think this is something that, if it goes well, could potentially be done every year and could grow and allow for, hopefully, public funders to donate money to help make this happen. Just in this list right here under the budget is just an example of how it could be used. Obviously, depending on how many poems were submitted, what type, where they worked, whether the city would agree to put things in certain places, I don't know. But just kind of an example of how it could be used, including marketing costs for publicizing the actual process and submission process. And then even I kind of put in there, kind of like we did for the artists for the mural, having some kind of frame certificate to give to them, to the poets that, whatever that looks like.
No, you definitely want to,
Yeah, so I put that in the budget as well. So we would be asking for $5,000. I think it would be a little more than $5,000. We could find the funds from somewhere else to cover the rest of that. And then the last page kind of shows some examples. Most of these I pulled from the internet, but the one you can see, the street light pole, that was actually one I took in LA this past summer. In their arts district, they had examples of the poetry, like even just on those banners that come throughout the district. So So yeah, this is my thought.
We have a lot of light posts.
Yeah.
It's
We have a lot of
yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
Banners,
That'd be easy. Hendrix has those banners on campus.
For sure.
That's a great proposal. I think it's fantastic. I mean, I appreciate all your work and that you guys put into, or you, or it's good. I'm sorry.
What do the asterisks mean?
Oh, those wouldn't be actual art installations. Those are kind of other costs that go along with the project. I'm a visual person, so I have to differentiate between
I think there's also, and you can decide on how much you want to push this or not, particularly given the group. It's not like they could do this as well, but so 2 or 3 of these, I mean, the design also is a big part of it as well. The colors, the layouts, the fonts, and what the poster ones and the banners, and even this one in the building with the little accent rocks. So all of that part, you could have other people who are not necessarily poets, but do graphic design or something.
Exactly. So one thing I did was, if you look like the mural, I've got quoted for $1,300. So Jessica Jones quoted me what it would be to have a muralist, not necessarily her, but a muralist help create that. And then obviously and that's one thing I like about this is you are incorporating a variety of the arts, because we're getting the poets, ideally of all different ages and different backgrounds, to submit. But then you're also incorporating the visual aspect of putting it up somewhere where people are running into it. So the mural might have some visual images that go along with the words. So the banner, same thing, could have graphic design that incorporates with it.
I like it, and I'm going to ask a question, or I'm going to voice a wish.
Yes.
I wish that all of the production of these could be done by students in the program. Do you know what I mean? That they could actually make those things, but I think there's only a few of these that they'll be able to do. Does that make sense? They're not going to be printing posters. I don't think, unless they have a setup.
No, so they would be helping with the graphic, the ones that require graphic design, that's where they're Creative Institute. They would also potentially be helping with the graphic design for the marketing process.
Yes. Ooh.
So they won't necessarily be printing decals or banners, but they'll be
The cost
design.
of these were quoted. I got an estimate for what it would be to have these printed professionally. So that's what those prices are. We're not paying for somebody to create the design, we're paying to have it printed and
But
created.
the design would create content for the classwork. Yeah.
But do you understand my wish? I just wish that was another part of that.
And the part, and I think
crazy.
ideally, some of this we would pay professionals, like if we're going to have a mural painted, we would pay them to do that, because I think we need to promote the idea that we're going to pay artists to create art.
Yeah.
But then there might be, especially this first time around, having volunteers come together to spray paint if we're going to do a spray painting stencil.
So we'd pay to cut the die or cut
We're
the
going to pay for
stencil,
the, and then we may, we get a group of art kids from Hendrix to come and help us spray paint them one day, or I don't know.
I do think you could. I don't know how to think about this. If you could budget something for food or something to kind of encourage the participation. Hey, we're gonna have. Well, we want you to show up this Saturday morning, and we're gonna put together these whatever.
Like we're gonna poetry the city too.
Yeah, and so and we give you lunch
Yeah.
or something like that. That could be. I think that could be a useful. I think this is fantastic.
Maybe we can get a local restaurant to donate.
Yeah, I think we
No,
can.
even better. Even
Yeah.
better. Yeah. Hey, we'll put poetry in your window.
That's right.
I mean, that'd be a great 1-2 punch, right?
And that was one thing I have. I think I missed over the project. There's kind of a list of things that I think this project could accomplish. Or maybe, it was the list on potential locations. I think that this is something where we could go to businesses and say, this was what it would cost to get this installation in your window. Would you be willing to donate that cost? So I think it's something that could be funded by donors, but also paid for by
I
businesses.
think a lot of businesses be interested in something. Yeah. I mean, if it's just a poster.
I mean, if it's $100 or $200 to get a decal on your window for a year,
Well, I was gonna say, and especially if we can make the pot sweeter a little bit by subsidizing a little bit of that. We take a 15% of it, and they, you wanted to do this just on your own, it would cost this much. We have vetted art and artists and everything else, and you just have to,
and somebody will install it for you.
Right. And so my thought would be that on all of these, there may be a couple that it may not be possible, like the stamping. I don't know how it would work. I think we could still work it out, but that the Blackbird Arts logo, Creative Institute, and the art board logo would be on all of these like small, like if we're getting a stencil done, it's part of the stencil that,
Right.
that those logos are there. If we're getting a vinyl done, like it's part of it, it's there,
Yeah.
so that
Is that
we're
okay?
also
Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah.
allowed to do
I
that.
just don't know. Well, if it's city funds that are paying for it, I don't, is that allowed to
Well,
happen?
it's art board funds that are paying for it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Like these don't have any logos.
Yeah, I mean, those are just,
I just don't want it
Okay,
to take
yeah.
away from the
Okay,
overall
yeah.
design of the,
I
but,
understand.
I mean,
Private entity.
maybe
Because
we
And maybe-
can have like
maybe-
a,
with them or something?
I
just
I'm
don't
talking
know.
like minuscule, like,
Okay.
We'd have to ask. I mean, I would not be opposed.
No,
no,
not
I think
opposed
at all,
to it.
just,
some
I just don't know
little,
if
yes.
that's.
Yeah, if that counts as
or
the city.
maybe it's a website.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
it's just the
Mhm.
web thing that leads them to the website where it has
Yeah.
information
That's a
about
totally
how
great
it's
idea.
managed. Yeah.
I just worry that the city will have rules about that because it's coming from artwork funds. But I don't know. I
Right.
don't know. But
We'll just have to ask.
yeah, just ask somebody. I think it'd be okay because you're doing it in conjunction with that group. So
Right.
Yeah, I would certainly want, if that's something that we decide to take on, I would want to recognize them as partners. That's
And all the
the,
printing
yeah,
materials and
yeah,
everything, it's
something.
just on the
on the permanent art piece.
mural or, yeah, permanent. Yeah.
I
don't know.
mean, artist gets us on their name to it. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's the poetry, like, official poetry, or is it their own personal poetry?
There, like, we would ask people to write poetry
Write their own,
and
so,
submit their own.
so you
Yes.
couldn't do a quote from the previous poet? It
No,
would
and I think that's what
all be
makes it great is that we're
participatory.
we're asking people to
Create
submit
something.
their own
Yeah.
art.
Okay, cool.
So local citizens are getting that put up. And again, we may only get 5 that really need to be put up this first year. I don't know. And maybe we just repeat those in different places in different formats. I mean, who knows? Maybe. I have no idea.
There's a lot of flexibility with it, which I think
Yes.
makes it really strong. Well, how do we vote on this? Can we do that tonight since you just brought it, or can we?
Sure.
Do we need to wait till we have our next meeting with more people, or we have a quorum, right?
We have a quorum, which, as I understand meeting rules, would let us vote on anything as the full board. I do want to say before we move on with that, to move back just a hair to the budgeting process and talk about how much each year we want to allocate to permanent projects. Temporary art, I have very low budget, $1,000 or less. Permanent pieces budget per piece, 5 to 10,000.
I thought that's what we said last time that we
Yeah.
would do.
That seems.
That we would. I thought we said 5 to 10. Like we
Yeah.
would do up to 1,000 for a temporary piece each year, and 5 to 10 for a permanent.
What do you?
But what if somebody can do it for
Yeah.
2,000?
Is it, or is there a reason
$3,000?
why we need to pin that down?
Well, I
Make
mean,
a cap on it, or,
Yeah.
like, this is kind of,
yeah, if we had a piece and we thought somebody could do it,
Okay,
and
all right.
they
So
could
it's
do
not
it for
gonna
2,000.
It's not going to tie our hands.
Yeah, I think if someone comes in for something that's permanent and not temporary and it's under 5,000, I don't think we're going to thumb our nose at it.
Right.
But I think,
Right. What if it was every year we will spend 10,000 on small projects, however we want to call them, maybe not small, like
it
mine,
might
I don't know,
be,
whatever.
Yeah.
With
2,000.
1,000 of that going to, with no more than 1,000 going to temporary,
Yeah.
and no more than 9 going to permanent. Small scale.
Small scale stuff. I don't know. I just go back to the towers. What are they called?
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon. 60 grand?
Yeah.
Was that total? That include the groundwork?
did not.
So that
I
would
think
be
we learned a
large.
contract lesson
Yeah,
there.
We've all grown and learned something. Yeah, I don't. We can say whatever we want and then break the rules when we want. I mean, no way.
I think it's good to have goals each
Yeah.
year and
Yeah.
kind of,
I think that goal of having of getting a
General-
permanent a big splash every year and then as many little things. I think that's a great goal. Yeah. Keep it kind of generating new stuff.
Well, if we do it in that way, that gives us then a baseline of at least 20,000 to start with for super big projects or
You would.
much bigger permanent things.
Every year, yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
If we're saying 10,000 or less every year for smaller projects, $1,000 or less for temporary, very low budget things, for pop-up things. Assuming we get our $30,000 every year, that gives us $20,000 to start with for a bigger project.
But big projects, we would have to say, but I
Yeah.
don't think we can do a big project for 20.
Yeah.
Well, how much was Big Toad?
It was 10 with matching, so it was 20. So maybe we need to lower our small to save more
But if
money
you
for
think
the
about
big.
it, we just talked about how we have 80 grand in the bank,
Yeah,
so maybe
yeah,
that's, we hold on to that and next year we add that to our next 30
Yeah.
and we have,
Yeah, if you add another
we can
10.
have another $60,000, $70,000 project and still
Yeah.
have some in the bank.
But if in the following years, if we're only getting 30,000 a year, then we would have to wait 5 years before we could do another big
Or
project.
ideally, we're gonna figure
But
out.
that's,
how to
it's
get
not a
money.
lot of money, 30 grand a year is not much.
Yeah.
But this doesn't
I
lock
mean, it
us
adds
into
up,
it.
but I just don't
Yeah.
want to do too many and then,
Right,
only do
turn
big
around.
projects every so often. And
But
I love, I don't know, I feel like there's a,
Well, I think part of the budget
and right
discussion
now
too.
we have a surplus, or not a surplus, but we have some saved
Yeah.
up.
And part of what I think and hope will come out with the public art plan, and part of what I hope we can all do as a board, is do a little fundraising and embrace that and bring that as part of it.
yeah, when that starts to stride with that.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
think
we-
my,
Go ahead. I was gonna say, we're more visible now. We are starting to do stuff on a regular basis, and I think people are now hopefully more going to recognize that we do exist. Especially as we can reach out and collaborate with outside groups that are also arts focused in the city. There's some more collaborative projects we can do that will also bring in some more funding opportunities as well, so that we're not solely reliant just on the AMP that we get.
But I think for me, why I think it's important for us to say we are going to spend $10,000 a year or approximately $10,000 a year on small projects is for those years when we may have to wait to save up for big projects. I don't want us to be invisible.
Right,
I think we need to always be working on something, so if we have that goal in place, then even if it takes us 2 years to save up for the next big project, we at least have small projects
I
that
think
we
that's a
work
good rule of thumb. 10,000 for medium to small, and 20,000 a year for large.
Yeah,
And-
that we don't touch. We let build.
Or we might have to. It just
Focus.
depends. I mean, if it's cheap materials, we could do it for 20, depending on what it is. But
Or find
Yeah.
partners
Find match.
outside
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
private
get matching.
partners.
I think that's a good starting place, and then we work our what's that, the nest egg into it. And then what do we do with the Conway Poetry Project?
Yes, I like it.
Should we vote on that, or is that going to put the rest of the board in an awkward position? I don't know. Or is that hard cheese?
Up to y'all. So this would take up half of our 10,000, right? So I wish.
I mean, I can,
Or just do a few of the
Can-
top ones or
Right.
something.
Can I flip it around the other way? Because I think it would be better to just right. Just tell me this is all new to me too. But just think off the top of my head, I think it'd be better to start big and then go smaller. So you spend the 5,000 first, and then maybe next year go down to if we're going to do it again, see how this goes. But I think for the first time through, I think probably having more might work better for it.
my concern
Strong
is, and after having done 10 years worth of arts projects with budgets, like, it adds up really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, I agree with you, I think if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. And I think when we start trying to nickel and dime artists is when you hinder the creative process, so I think we don't.
I don't think it's nickel and dime. It's just cutting down.
I
Maybe not do the.
I think an experiential
Certain
thing would be
ones,
great.
yeah.
So I something like this, 5,000 the first year, try a variety of things, whatever the committee comes up with, and see what seems to be the most popular or what works the best, and then maybe for the next year, depending where the budget's at, maybe not do some of the things that people weren't interested in having in their shops or whatever.
And like I said, we wouldn't necessarily expect the board to fund this every year. If I wanted to pitch it every year, great.
Right.
But I think having one really good year of an example would help me go to businesses and say, hey, would you help me fund this project this next year?
Yeah. And I think for perspective, while we are in an advisory role, there will be a new big monumental art piece for MLK Square.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that'll still be something that we'll be able to publicize and point people to as new art coming up in Conway.
Yeah.
So we won't lose our project scope for that. It just might not have as much of the artistic feel as we would all like it to have,
Right,
depending on who's signing off.
Yeah, who's choosing
Right.
that?
Funny
Who's
choice.
choosing that soaring, swirling giant tower of swirling
No idea.
uplift?
Okay.
So we'll have those two projects. That money didn't just vaporize.
Yeah.
Or we'll be under, city investigation, and we'll find out real soon. But no, the money is going to art projects that will manifest themselves. We'll be able to point to. So while we're thinking about how we're going to have to fundraise and do smaller projects, those big projects should still be coming along.
Yes, that's true. That's good. Yeah.
I could feel your anxiety about
So-
not having money for a big project. And that's
That's good.
Yeah, the big projects are fun. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
makes it. Yeah.
Do we also want to look at all the other small projects options as well?
Well, that was the one I was going to throw out because, and I am remiss because I do not have a wonderful project packet to share with you all, but I do have an idea from, this comes from the Central Arkansas Leadership Institute class of this year. So that's through the council.
Cali one?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of their groups recognized that we now have sound dampeners on part of the freeway running through Conway that are just big white sort of blobs. And they present themselves as a wonderful opportunity as a canvas for some art. I do not know what the cost will be. I just wanted to see if we were interested in maybe dipping our toe in partnership with that group. So the Cali group itself would be driving part of the project as their Cali project. They have to decide on that by October, I want to say. So we have a little bit of time to finagle and think about how much we would be wanting to do with that. Fundraising will be a portion of it. He has connections to Department of Transportation, so he knows the process.
Oh, good.
Which would be, if we wanted to be involved, it would involve us working with them, getting local city approval for the project, and then passing it up the line for state approval from RDOT. Which with his channels he hopes we would get, especially if we got it approved from the local level, getting it approved from the RDOT level should hopefully be.
I have a question about them.
Yes.
Are they proposing to paint them on the interstate side or on the city side?
I don't know, but I think both.
It's ambitious.
It is.
I kind of like that though, because I'm thinking if it's on the interstate side, but then they're really ugly on the interstate side. So
But it's a great, people driving by. That
Yeah.
I was
say,
gonna say,
hey, come on
it
in,
could.
and we got some fun
It
right
could.
here.
Very public facing.
But yeah, it'd be a good person for a lot of people would see.
I'm interested in knowing more about what they. I think that would be something
Yeah, and I
fantastic.
would want to hear a budget because to me,
Well, that's the thing, is it could be very big.
Yeah.
if we're gonna do something on an interstate with people driving by, I think it needs to be again, I don't want to throw pennies at it when it really needs to be
Right.
I don't know if we can accomplish even for 10 grand, I don't know if we could accomplish what we want to on that size of a.
Oh yeah, I anticipate for anything that we would be involved with that, it would be a joint fundraising effort.
Right.
Less than that.
I,
And
and
particularly looking for grants and things of that nature for a large scale project.
I think there's another issue that I would be really concerned about is this might be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
It could be after we just did the tunnel, the walk-through tunnel. There's, and it can matter. It can really matter. So I don't know how they would see that. Are they just saying, hey, give us some money, but we're going to decide it all?
No, I think we would be involved. And that's part of the reason why I was interested. If it is a big project like that and they do get off the ground, then
Great.
Great to
I want
have.
more information.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
sure.
it could be really fantastic. Yeah.
with the understanding that that would be something that we'd have to fundraise for. I don't think it necessarily has an impact on this, but I think your idea does if we want to discuss that now.
I don't remember what it was.
Did you do?
So,
I have an idea that I emailed you.
You did, yes.
But
what was it?
Share with
You
the
first.
class.
I'll think of what it was.
okay,
while
so
you're-
last time we talked about the tunnel's kind of a success.
Yes.
Well, it's a great success, right? Having that, cleaning it up, it's just so much better. So are there other tunnels? Where there's the real ugly tunnel that's by Hendrix, which is a little bit interesting, but that got me thinking. Ooh, the bridge. I've actually. I've been in touch with RDOT and finally got through to somebody, and super nice guy to talk to. and he said just exactly what Peyton has said. You make a proposal, the city has to sign off on it, and he said in this case Hendricks would also have to sign off on it, and then I send it to that guy, and then he runs it up the food chain for approval. Yeah. So and I said something about, well, what can we do on the bridge, and he starts going down this road about, well, things, you can't have stuff hanging off of the bridge. And I'm like, no, oh my gosh, no, we're not hanging it. We just kind of want to paint. Could we just paint the bridge? But just painting the bridge. But then I started thinking about just painting the bridge over a heavily trafficked state highway. That could, because I don't know how you do that, and I bet there's laws about, I mean, on interstates, they've got to build the scaffolding and yada, yada, yada. So I don't know, I don't have a clue.
What about the railing?
The rail, I mean, anything done to that bridge would be an improvement.
Yeah.
It's so bad. There's like this old nasty, the cage thing that's over is just beat up and thrashed. And I talked to somebody about this, and they said, oh my word, what students want the most are lights.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that could be kind of interesting just in itself, some kind of a light thing, and maybe not terribly expensive depending on what that was. So I don't know, but anyway, it's.
Well, I would also be interested if Hendricks or whomever was planning to update that bridge anytime soon, or add things, or I don't know. I wouldn't want.
Hendricks was planning that about a decade ago, and they were thinking about spending, I think it was $250,000 to make it. The picture we were shown was to make it look like a bridge that crosses the River Charles in Boston by what was the name of that university? They look like they're Harvard. That's so stupid. Oh my gosh. It was not a good idea, and it was crazy expensive.
Gotcha.
And it's just an ugly bridge to begin with. But I don't know if it could be painted somehow, and I don't know, and maybe a little bit of money from Hendricks as well. Maybe Hendricks buys the paint or something. I have no idea. I don't have any plans, but anyway, that's just a weird option. The tunnel is, I think, less in need of an update, in part because they keep it pretty clean, and there's that weird musical thing on one side of it. And I don't know if the college, remember you touch it's broken.
It's already got it,
Yeah. So I don't know if the college is dreadfully interested in the tunnel or not. I don't know how interested they'd be in the bridge, because I don't know what, I just have no idea what that would be. Would we get some artists to say, well, we're not going to?
I mean, it could be paint or light,
I'd say there has to be things that
filled
can
throughout the railing, or
Oh no,
a
that kind of
screen
thing
of
would be
some
really, really
sort.
cool. Yeah.
And for what it's worth,
a
I mean,
bird sitting on the railing.
yeah, they managed to build the thing across the span.
Yeah.
For some minor inconvenience, could also safely have someone be able to put some art up there.
I think so. I mean, I think if you're, I'm just imagining painting like that underneath a really ugly, rusty part. Somebody's got to hang down, and I don't know how you do that. You got nothing. So, but other parts could be really interesting. But I don't even know where to start with that, like, because we don't.
I don't like it, but I think painting would be a big project.
I think we would have to hire
Yeah.
people that are skilled and like in safety and walk through all the safety stuff to implement those things. So I think that's going to be a pretty.
Or at Hendricks, when we want really dangerous things done, we just get students to do it.
Yeah.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
I guess the first question would be if Hendricks were interested.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be interested in them. I don't know. I don't know what they're. I don't know. I don't even know. I only because that bridge has been ugly for a long time. 40,000 people a day see it. So I just was thinking I'm just at the very front edge of that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know I drive past it all the time. I just never really look at it. So.
Oh, sorry.
I
Now you're gonna.
and kind of get it. Like see a picture of where. I want to make sure we don't get into the beautification.
Right,
Like,
yes.
Right,
Our job is
right.
to beautify things that are ugly in the city, where there may not be artistic content. You know, like I want to make sure if we're going to do it that it has an artistic value.
Right. It's not a fresh coat of paint. It's
Right. Like we're
right.
actually doing
And
art that has value.
And I need to have a better look at it because the part that's painted, I can't quite remember how do I say that? How thick it is, how wide it is.
right.
And I have in mind that it's pretty narrow. It's concrete and there's like a steel beam
Yeah.
under it, and so And I've been like trying to rack in my brain like some kind of interesting. I mean, it could
A light installation could be cool, though.
Light could be a lot of them could be just really interesting.
Wouldn't do much for the daytime appearance, but I mean, driving by at night, having that
Yeah.
be a feature.
Fun. Yeah. As long as it's not red or green, right? Cool.
Sure.
Well, I'll whatever more ideas. I'll try to talk to somebody at the college and just see if they have any thoughts. Maybe somebody will go, "Oh, we had this idea years ago." What can we do with the poetry project to do? Do you know what I mean? Can we? To accept it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Would you have to recuse yourself?
I don't know.
So suddenly we're down to 3.
That's.
I
I
don't
just
know
meant
the rules on
procedure.
recusing.
I think we would not let you vote to approve your own project proposal,
Okay. So yeah, so then we would need.
but that fits your timeline. If we make sure that we have a voting quorum at the next one, at our next meeting.
Well, I mean, we would have to push the timeline, but I mean, obviously I can't. That's fine.
There's nothing online. Where's James? Where's
I think James has a vote as a city member. He's city representative. I don't know if he gets to
I don't think it
cast his lot
counts
with
as
us.
a quorum.
Cast his lot.
So Kim.
So if there's 7,
What if we?
there's 7 members, right? So if you take me away, that's 6 people. So 3 is half. But I don't know, is a quorum 50 or more than 50%?
I feel like we could make the case that a quorum is 50, but I don't have my Robert's Rules of Order here to dictate.
Y'all do what y'all think is right.
I would feel more comfortable if we had a majority. However, I am willing to hold a provisional vote that I think
I like that. How about yes? Can I make a proposal? Sir, Mr.
Yes.
Chair, can I make a proposal? A motion.
Go for it.
Make a motion that we have a provisional vote on this, and then we get some input from at least one other board member, a vote from, and then.
Yeah,
I think we can approve
It comes back to us, right? Again,
Yeah,
to
so
actually find out exactly what all these things are.
absolutely, yeah. So
Okay.
in November,
So that can be when everybody. So
It's
we would just
provisional
say,
anyway.
we'll
Okay.
earmark 5,000
Yeah.
for this project.
Yeah.
Towards this project, and then pending all the particulars and everybody
So it
else's.
would come back to the board at least twice. So in November,
Yeah.
we would show the proposal, and one of an art board member other than me would be on this committee as well. And so then the committee would create a proposal for a proposal. So the entire board would approve that proposal.
Yeah.
And then later would also approve the suggested poems and places. So there's 2 more rounds of approval that would happen from the board.
I say we earmark and we open up and share this proposal with the rest of the board that it was at present to see if we can get our final additional vote for
Okay.
approval. If y'all are comfortable with that,
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, you want me to email this to the board?
that would be awesome.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion for that thing I just said?
He started
Motion.
Awesome.
So moved.
to
Second.
earmark. Yes, second.
Awesome. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Recused. And awesome. Okay, well then we'll open it up to the rest of the board electronically to see if we can get that final vote in the spirit of moving the project along so that we can get actually started on that. Cool. So I should make note of that in the official minutes.
I need to go. I have another meeting.
Not strictly speaking. So just to give you the update on the tunnel. So we have had a bit of I won't even call it graffiti. We've had a bit of defacement. Primarily over one of the murals. Nikia from CAFTA is reaching out to the artist to see if they want to try to fix it and repair it.
Okay.
The point of discussion for all of us is to decide how we want to move forward with that, because
Yeah. The protective.
Yeah. My thoughts were we might use this as a catalyst to either pull some funds from our budget, or I've had some interest from CAFTA folks to maybe do a small fundraiser for the anti-graffiti coating. I don't, and that's on.
So, yeah.
Spray, brush, toxic.
I'm assuming it's painted on, but I don't know that. Because it'd have to be a coating.
It's got to be some
Like
pretty
that
heavy
thick.
duty stuff that
Yeah.
you're able to wash off. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can we get a quote for what it is, and then we can make it. It would be great if we could do like a matching thing with, you know, we do half of it and we do the other.
Yeah, and some of their members, I'm on, our marketing director is also on the CAFTA board. I think is their marketing chair. But we had talked even, you know, we would be willing to pitch into a fundraiser to, you know, to show that that's a thing and recognize that this happens to public art from time to time. But then use that as, you know, if you want to help prevent that and support this work and make it more permanent, we can do this. But I think, you know, I'm thinking it wouldn't be more than 500 to 1,000 for.
Unless it's some really toxic substance that requires somebody to suit up in that tunnel.
No.
I can't believe it would be.
I want to say it's readily applicable by municipalities everywhere.
Okay.
So.
Do we know somebody to quote it?
I don't, but I can find out. There was a thread from a couple of months ago on an Americans for the Arts subboard. I think it bombarded with emails from. But I'll trace it down and see if I can find the person who's used it before, and maybe we can see from them kind of what it's cost and how they've applied it in the past and get some more info. That's what that board's for anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, cool. If y'all are okay with me moving forward with that, then maybe our board position is exploratory for fundraising for anti-graffiti coating in support of the artists to repair their work and then protect.
Do we, I don't know how bad the damage was. Do we need to provide, you know, material funds for the artist?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's just words. It's Jesus.
Jesus.
And lights.
Oh, I saw that.
Black spray paint.
Oh,
And they sprayed over some of the dragon's face.
What? Not
Yeah, I
the
didn't
dragon's
understand
faces.
that.
That was my son's favorite one.
The dragons are fun. Can I clear out? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Make
I
a
guess
motion
so.
to end
Yeah.
something?
Oh, there's
No?
there's-
Yeah.
I see that. Okay.
It is. It's unfortunate, but also, I mean, it's
I
the
know,
public
it's-
component of public art. Sometimes this stuff happens.
Self-expression.
Yeah. In light of we're losing our quorum, did anybody else have anything?
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on social media real quick before we?
The posts aren't getting up that I'm doing, and we're a volunteer board, and I'm using our free time to do this that I don't have. So it's kind of frustrating that I'm doing that and then they're not getting put up. And I understand that everyone else is really busy, and I get that there are things to them probably more important than this, but I would like to explore the option of us being able to post for ourselves.
Maybe review a month, or have them review them and then say, okay, these are good to post.
Right.
Yeah, that was an
And
idea
let
that
us
we
post
initially
them. Yeah.
sped out, and I think if we're all in agreement, then we'll pursue that tactic and see if we just can't make that. Because if we can do that, then yeah, I'm fine with helping post stuff. I imagine you're fine with helping post stuff. It's as easy as a calendar reminder for me to say, oh, hey, over lunch on this day, post this story on Facebook.
Set it up when it's posted, right?
You can schedule ahead too in some cases, so.
Which is,
Yeah.
so, and that would save them time, so yes. Yes.
I would even, there's even the possibility of, I know the Creative Institute is looking for projects for their students to do. If I gave them the content, it might, I don't know how we would feel about having one of them schedule and do, I don't know. But regardless, I think there are options that we can take it off of their plate where they still get to approve, but.
Right. So official stance then of Yard Board is get them to approve it in a batch, and then we will handle logistics of getting it posted.
Yes.
And then we can work out post ourselves if that's a Creative Institute student, if it's one of us, if it's all of us, if we draw lots. Who knows?
Right.
Awesome.
Okay.
Pending any other further business, I say we adjourn for today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thanks. That's good. Wow, got a lot done. Good.